Hey guys, welcome back to the video. In this I'm going to be tier listing every single MCU project in the Marvel Cinematic Universe canon. So on screen, as you guys can see, I have a Marvel movies and projects tier list, and you can see it doesn't only consist of strictly MCU movies, but also movies that technically exist in the multiverse, like the Raimi Spiderman movies and the Netflix shows. As you guys can see at the very bottom of this tier list, there are some of the Netflix shows and one thing that's on Disney Plus that I haven't seen yet, so I won't be including those in this tier list. But I haven't done a full MCU movies ranking since Eternals, and I've actually never ranked every single one of the projects on the channel at all, so I'm super excited to get into this tier list with you guys. As always, let me know your ranking for all of the Marvel projects in the comments down below. I know that's a lot of projects to get through, so if you just want to leave your top 10, that's amazing as well. I'm excited to hear everyone's thoughts and opinions because there's so many different movies and shows to pick from. And before we get into it, as always, if you're new here and enjoy all my movie and TV show reviews, reactions, and breakdowns, make sure to subscribe and notifications on so you miss any time I upload a video or I go live. Both always give more time. Let's get into it. All right, so these movies are not in any particular order, so I'm just gonna start off Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think this movie is at the very top of meh. I just rewatched this one prior to Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, and I think it's a fine movie. It's rewatchable, but I don't think it's necessarily like a good movie. If anything, I would put it at the very bottom of good, which you guys, if you have seen all my other tier list videos, I like to move these around as the time goes. So my final list might be different than what it is while it's in progress. But with that being said, let's move on to Ant-Man. And I actually have a hot take for this one. I think it's in the great tier. I feel like a lot of people might not agree with me on this one, but I think this is low-key one of the most underrated comic book movies ever made. It's simple, but it's effective. It gets the job done. You learn so much about Scott Lang as a character, and just as a whole, it builds up the side characters of Ant-Man really well. It's obviously, in my opinion, one of the funniest movies in the MCU, and just overall, it's such a small story, but it fits so well into the overall MCU lore. Like, not only does it include Avengers headquarters with a cameo from Falcon, but the cameo actually makes a lot of sense within the story. And on top of that, you also have the post-credit scene that leads directly into Civil War. So a small movie in phase, what was it, like end of 2 or beginning of 3, but it does such a great job of just slowly implementing this character that ends up being very key in Endgame. So yeah, I really, really like this movie. I know a lot of people don't, but next up, Avengers Age of Ultron. I'm going to go good. I think a lot of movies are going to end up falling in the good tier just because I feel like that's what the MCU is. It's consistently delivering us just baseline good movies. And Age of Ultron, I do think it's overhated just because it's the worst Avengers movie, but the Avengers movies are all really great in my opinion. I mean, I wouldn't say like Endgame is amazing as much as other people would say Endgame is amazing. That's just my opinion. You guys will see that hot take later in this video, but yeah, I think just because it's the worst Avengers movie, it's definitely overlooked a lot. But next up, we have Avengers Infinity War, which is my personal favorite MCU movie. So I'm going to put that one at best of best. It's easily one of the best comic book movies of all time as well. I've talked about this movie so much. I also have the poster for this movie like right across from where I'm sitting right now. It's one of the like many comic book movies that just like defined my life. It was really like a generational moment. Like everything stopped when the first trailer for this movie came out, and just in general, it's really the first time where a villain won in a sense. I mean, like, because you could technically say like, oh, the Dark Knight, like Joker won because he broke Batman, but like we're talking like on a just a level of raw scale and power. Avengers Infinity War really showed that with Thanos. But next up, we have Captain Marvel. I'm going to go meh, and honestly, I'm going to go under Ant-Man and the Wasp strictly off of rewatch value. I would rather rewatch Ant-Man and the Wasp than Captain Marvel. Neither is that great of a film, but I would still just say that Captain Marvel, like, and the thing is, my biggest problem with Captain Marvel is just the fact that, like, it's so many tones in one movie. Captain Marvel is a character that like they don't really, it doesn't feel like they know how they want her to be written in this movie. Sometimes she's like super badass, independent, like super cool, but then other times like the Kree people or whatever the people, her people are telling her what to do, and she's like, and like, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's like, I don't really understand the movie, like in terms of like what they're trying to do with their character. So yeah, I'm excited to see her future though, because when paired with like Monica Rambeau and Miss Marvel, I think then she'll be more appealing to me personally. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, next up we got Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I'm going to put this at best of the best for now. It will probably end up going to like the bottom of best of the best, just because over time I've liked this movie less and less, even though it's still a great movie. I mean, it's actually, no, it's not that I liked it less and less. I feel like better movies have just come out. Next up though, we have the first Captain America movie, the first Avenger. I rewatched this one for my MCU rewatch a while ago, and I think as of now put it at the bottom of good, just because I don't know if I would classify it just a meh movie. Like, I would turn this one on for a rewatch one day. I think the beginning drags a little bit, but other than that, I'm a pretty big fan of it. Next up, we have Civil War, and this one's going best of the best easily. I'll put this right underneath Infinity War and right above Winter Soldier. Also, I've been saying this the whole video, but I never like actually mentioned it. I could basically rank the movies within the actual tier list, and that's why I titled the video a ranking video and not just a tier list video, because I am ranking them. I'm just also putting them inside of tiers so you guys can get the general idea of what I think about the MCU as a whole and what movies I think fit in what tier. But nevertheless, Captain America Civil War really shifted the tide for the entire universe. It really sets up so much of the future of the MCU in such a phenomenal way. It's the perfect drama that fits right into the lore of Captain America and the politics of the world. But nevertheless, it's an amazing movie in my opinion. But next up, we got Doctor Strange. I'm going to put this at the top of great. I do go back and forth in my ranking between Doctor Strange and Antman. Those two are very flip-flop for me. But I'm pretty sure they're like at the bottom of my top 10 or right outside my top 10 or like teetering in and out, you know? And so I love Doctor Strange. I love this movie. I'll defend this movie till the day I die because I just love how much this movie is able to balance. It's a really funny movie. It also has a decent villain with Caecilius. And the thing is, it's an origin solo story, so it has to have a good origin, first of all, but it also has to have interesting love interests to kind of like propel this character and give that like instant second dimension. And then it also introduces a whole new side of the MCU with the mystic arts. You have Doctor Strange being introduced, Wong. Again, a whole new aspect of the MCU that we had never previously touched on that ends up being super important to the Infinity Stones and all that kind of stuff. So it's like this movie is really essential, and I feel like for how much it balances, it is a really great movie. Next up though, we have Avengers Endgame. A hot take with this one, honestly, I think it goes at great, but like I'm putting it below Ant-Man and Doctor Strange because like I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one, but I like the movie, but the first 2 hours aren't that great upon a rewatch. And just like, and even initially while I was watching, because like, it was cool. It was like sick that they were going back in time. You know, you're reliving the MCU. That's super great in the moment. But that's not a movie that holds up, in my opinion. Like, that's not a story that's independent of something else. Whereas Infinity War, yeah, it relies on the past of the MCU, but the story in and of itself in Infinity War is entertaining enough. Whereas Endgame, I feel like it just doesn't work on its own. And like, if we were doing Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, maybe that's different. But Endgame, the final hour is amazing, in my opinion. But other than that, the other like 1.5, 1 hour 45, 2 hours, it's just not that great. But next up, we have Guardians of the Galaxy. This one's going in best of the best. I'll probably put this above Winter Soldier just because I feel like it's visually a little bit better, and I feel like the cast does a better job of working off of one another in Guardians. Additionally, the music choice, direction, the stylistic choices like I already mentioned. I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy is just a really well-crafted movie, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is next up on this list. And the thing is, I go back and forth on this movie a lot. I know a lot of people, this one really divides a lot of fans, but I do think it's a good movie, right? I just think it's a straight up good movie. I don't think it's anything more. I don't think it's anything less. I used to think it was a great movie, but over time it has gone down just a little bit because every time I go back to rewatch this movie, I really get frustrated whenever they split up the group because that doesn't feel like the Guardians of the Galaxy to me. And I understand what they do, and it really works for character development really well, and Star-Lord being taken over by Ego and all of that kind of stuff. And that's all like great development, and I understand that. But just as a person who's there to watch the Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't really like that they're split up, and it doesn't really, that aspect of it doesn't really keep me entertained. Next up, we got Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm going to put this at the top of meh. I think that might be a hot take as well. I think this one just really frustrates me as a Spider-Man fan first, and you guys will see the other Spider-Man movies are on this list. I don't like Far From Home. Moving on, Incredible Hulk. I'll put that at the bottom of meh as well. I don't think it's bad, just because, like, I mean, I wouldn't say a single of the MCU, like 6 like main universe movies are bad. Some of the other ones, I will be putting them in the bad category, but Incredible Hulk, it's not bad. It's just meh. I'm not a big, I know there's a lot of people that are a fan of it. It's just not me. Next we got Iron Man 2. I'll probably put this at the top of meh. I think it's a fine movie, but upon my rewatch, I really realized how bogged down it is by building up to Avengers, but that's just something I noticed on a rewatch. Iron Man 3, I think this movie's fine as well. I don't know if I would put it in good, though. I really don't know if I would put it in good. I would probably say top of meh for now, but that's one I think I can move up to good, if depending on what other movies we put in. Next up, we got Iron Man, the original one. I'm going to put that above Endgame in the great tier. It's a great movie. The start of a universe, amazing visual effects, a great story, great love interest. It's just, it feels like a classic superhero movie, and it really is the start of this entire universe. And I feel like, in a sense, like, no, it's not the most complex thing, but it does a great thing of, like, doing a character study, in a sense, on Tony Stark in his first movie without anything else built up. So I really respect that. On the list next is Black Panther. I'm going to put this one at the top of good. It would teeter between great and good, but the biggest thing for me with Black Panther is I love all of the elements of the movie, but at the end of the day, the baseline story is really basic and, to an extent, fairly weak in my opinion. And so it's just like it's like a Lion King-esque, like, it's too basic for the other elements to actually make up for it. And so I think it works for what it is, but I think the basic story limits how, like, amazing I think it could be. Next up on the list is Spider-Man Homecoming. And hot take with this one, I used to hate this movie, really. I used to be such a hater, but I'm going to put this at the middle of great. Honestly, I don't know. It might be better than the original Iron Man movie, but I'm going to put it below the Iron Man movie for right now. Spider-Man Homecoming, like I said, I used to hate this movie so much with a passion. I used to not like this Spider-Man, but looking back on it, rewatching Homecoming during my MCU rewatch, I think it was like last year, Spider-Man Homecoming is a really great Spider-Man adaptation. Far From Home is not at all, and they basically retcon every piece of progress that Spider-Man made in Homecoming. But for what Homecoming is by itself, it tells such a great Spider-Man story. I still think Iron Man is a little bit overused, but Vulture is also amazing as the villain. MJ she's okay in the movie, and so is the other girl. I'm forgetting her name, but it's Vulture's daughter. She's irrelevant anyway, but I don't know. I like the movie a lot more now, and I used to bash it so much on Twitter, but I was enlightened. Next up, we got Thor, and hot take, this one's also going in the good category. I rewatched this before, Thor Love and Thunder, and I really think it's a good movie. But we also have Thor The Dark World, which is going in the meh. Honestly, actually, I'm putting it in bad. That's our first bad movie, I think. Yeah, that one's going in bad. Don't have much else to say about it. It's just a bad movie. Like, you don't want to talk about a bad movie. The elves, not great. Just Chris Hemsworth, he's not, like, nothing in this movie really works for me. I don't know. I don't like that movie. And thing is, I rewatched it before Thor Love and Thunder, and nothing changed. Like, I just still didn't like the movie. But next up, we got Thor Ragnarok. I'm honestly, hot take. Actually, no, I'll move it at the bottom of best of best, and then maybe it'll shimmy down to the great if it has to. But next up, we got Avengers, the original one. This is purely nostalgia based, and I know that not really many people are going to agree with me, but I'm going to go great for this one. Top of great, but I feel like people would just put it at the bottom of great, or maybe even, like, I don't know. I want to put it in best of best, but I just don't see it fitting in there with other picks that I have left in this. So we'll see, but I might move it later. Next up, we have what I think is the first television show that's going to be on the actual tier list, WandaVision, which it's weird to compare TV shows to movies, and I don't actually have a list made for including shows, which is really weird to include it again, but WandaVision, I would probably put it in good, like right about here. Yeah, I would say it's like in the middle of the good tier. And a lot of the shows are probably going to end up in the middle of good to meh. Next up, we got Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'll put this at the bottom of good. Solid show, mediocre villain, just like WandaVision. Loki, on the other hand, ooh, I don't know. Okay, this Loki might go like right under Antman. That's weird for me to say, but Loki is in the I mean, I knew it was in the great, but I didn't really know where in the great it was. But I think I'm going to put it in the middle of great. I think that's kind of valid. Next up, we got Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I think this is a great movie as well. Honestly, I think I'm going to go under Homecoming. Under Homecoming above Endgame. I think that's my move. I think Endgame, again, it's just when you start comparing other movies that are just like better in and of themselves and not so dependent on everything else, then it gets beat out, which is what Shang-Chi is for me. Next we got Black Widow. This one is just, it's not that good. It's a meh movie, and it's borderline. I would say it's borderline good. Nah, I'm going to move it down a little bit. Below Iron Man 2. I think that's valid. Next up, we got What If. Ooh, I'm going to put this at meh, but I don't know where in meh I'm going to put it. Because I think some episodes I would say are way better. Some episodes are like some of the best Marvel content we've gotten. Like the Doctor Strange episode was peak Marvel, but some of the other episodes are not that great. So I think I'll go like right above Ant-Man and the Wasp, just because I'd rather rewatch Far From Home than What If. Next up, we got Hawkeye. I'll go top of meh. I think that's where a lot of the shows are going to end up for me, is meh or good, like I said before. Next up, we got Eternals. This one is going to be the hottest of hot takes, but I'm taking Eternals over Avengers Endgame. Bash me in the comments. Say what you want. I'm taking Eternals over Avengers Endgame. Endgame, yes, I might rewatch the final battle more, but for what these two runtimes are, I'm more interested in rewatching Eternals than watching Endgame. And that's just my opinion. You guys can do whatever you want with that. Next up, we got Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm going to put this at the best of the very bottom of the best of the best. But I could see an argument for moving it just a little bit down to great. The movie, it's aged fine for me. I wouldn't say it's gone up, but I've definitely have a less interest in revisiting the movie now. Nah, I'm moving it to top of great. Yeah, I'm going to move it to top of the great. Okay, next up we got Spider-Man 1? Spider-Man 2. This is Spider-Man 2. We're going best of the best, above Avengers Infinity War. It's one of my favorite it's my second favorite comic book movie of all time. It's going in best of best. And the thing is, like, I don't want to talk about the movie too much, just because, like, I mean, I will say this. It's one of the first movies I ever watched in my entire life. I have way too much nostalgia for this movie, so I'm very, very biased. That's all I'll say. Next up, we got Spider-Man 3. I actually think this is a good movie. I'm not going to lie. Like, I think it's overhated as hell. Like, I think it's a great movie. I mean, a good movie. I'm putting it above Black Panther. I know that's a hot take. I'm putting it above Black Panther. Next up, we got The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Honestly, there are enjoyable aspects to this movie. Like, I would rather rewatch this movie than, like, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'll put it there. Yeah, I think that works. I would rather rewatch this movie than these other movies, so I'll put it there. The Amazing Spider-Man, I would put it at good. It's somewhere in the good. I just don't know where in the good it is. Probably like, yeah, right below Volume 2, I would say. Right below Volume 2, I'll take Amazing Spider-Man, yeah. And then we got Spider-Man 1. A 9 out of 10 in my opinion. One of the best of the best. Probably right here. It's like, I would say these three are pretty interchangeable, like Winter Soldier, Ragnarok, and Spider-Man 1. Next up, we got Venom, a very meh movie, but rewatchable in my opinion, so we will put it above Captain Marvel and Incredible Hulk. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I don't want to put it in the bad category because it's not like a bad movie. I'm putting it in the bad category, whatever. Then we got Daredevil, best of the best. I would say it's like the third best project from this list. It's some amazing stuff. If you guys haven't already checked out my video, I think it's like a 20+ minute video where I finished watching Daredevil for the first time last year after I had COVID for a little bit. And so I had binged the whole show and it was an amazing experience again. That full video is on the channel somewhere. I'll probably link it somewhere on the screen or in the description down below. But go check that out if you want to hear all my thoughts on it. Next up, we got Moon Knight. I'm going meh again. Just a lot. That's what happens with a lot of these shows. They just end up falling off towards the end. Next up, we got Multiverse of Madness. I think this is one of the best of the best. I'm going right above Winter Soldier. And looking back at this, I'm going to move Thor Ragnarok up one. And yeah, I just a little shift I wanted to make. But yeah, Multiverse of Madness right there. It's an amazing movie. No one agrees with me except for like random people online. Like no one that I know in person actually agrees with me that this movie is amazing, except for one of my friends, and it's my best friend. We're the only ones that'll defend this movie to like the ground. But I'm so excited like for this movie to age. Hopefully more people like it in the future, but I really love this movie. I really do. Next up, we have Miss Marvel. I think it's a good show, but I don't know if it fits on the tier with like good overall. So I'm going to put it at the very top of meh, but I do think it could teeter like back and forth, right? Yeah. And just in general, like the villain was pretty forgettable. I enjoy all of the coming of age aspects of it, and I think that works really, really well. But in terms of like the Marvel formula with the 6 episodes and just trying to bring everything together, I think it kind of fumbled on that aspect. So for that, I'll put it at the very top of meh. Next up, we have Thor, Love, and Thunder. I'm going to put this right below Venom just because I would rather rewatch Venom than Thor, Love, and Thunder. And honestly, Captain Marvel might even be above it just because Captain Marvel's like CGI looks a lot better, so it's a little bit more watchable than Thor, Love, and Thunder. But yeah, Thor, Love, and Thunder is not really it for me. Next up, we have She-Hulk. Again, at the end of the day, it turns into being a meh show because I feel like as I'm watching it, all of these shows are good as I'm watching it because you're in the moment and you're seeing it week to week and you're understanding these characters and you're satisfied by what it's giving you. But even after the finale, I wouldn't say right at the finale, my opinion changes, but a few weeks after you kind of start to see, okay, like you're going weeks without watching the show. So you're kind of understanding it's like, okay, it wasn't that big of an impact. So for me, I think I'm going to go right under Miss Marvel. I'll go She-Hulk. I do take She-Hulk over Hawkeye and Moon Knight, which I think is a pretty big hot take, but I enjoyed She-Hulk. I know a lot of people didn't, but it was a fun time, and that's that. Next up, we have I Am Groot. I don't really know how to judge this. I guess I'm going to put this in meh as well. I'll put it like above. I'll put it above Venom because like it's good enough to where I would rather just be like, if someone was like, oh, what do you want to watch? What should I watch? Should I watch I Am Groot or Venom? Which I don't know why someone would pick only those two options, but I would say I Am Groot out of those two, I guess. But I don't know. It's weird to rank that ones because it's just 6 shorts. Like that's weird. But anyways, we got Morbius next. Honestly, I'm a Morbius defender till I die. I'm going best of best. I'm kidding. I'm gonna go probably right above Venom. Yeah, right above Venom. I don't know what else I would do with that. Next up, we got Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I think I would say it's a great Marvel movie above Endgame. I'm going to go right under Eternals for me. I know my Eternals takes are making everyone so mad, and I apologize for that. Actually, I don't apologize for it because I love Eternals. You should love Eternals too. Maybe we go rewatch. This movie's so overhated. Yeah, I'm going to put it right under Eternals in great. Next up, we have Werewolf by Night. This is our first special presentation to rank, so I don't really know how to judge this once again, but I would say it's a good special presentation, so I'm going to put it somewhere in the good tier. Kind of like doing process of elimination. I'm taking it over WandaVision. I don't think I'm taking it over Amazing Spider-Man though. So I think it's going to end up right in the middle of the good tier. And then we have Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I also think it's a good special, but I don't think it's better than Falcon 1. So I'll put it at the bottom of good. And I wouldn't even say it's teetering the line between meh and good. it's just good. It's good, you know? Next up we have, okay, so now for the final movie in the tier list. Again, I'm not doing the Netflix shows at the bottom here because I haven't seen them yet, so I don't want to unfairly judge them, obviously. The newest release, Antman and the Wasp Quantumania. Now, I just recorded my review, and so I haven't really thought of where it's going to rank, so you guys are kind of getting a live picking of what the hell I think this movie is going to rank as. I've been pondering it a little bit more. I know it belongs on the good tier. It's just not great and it's not meh. It's somewhere in the good. Now, where does it belong in the good tier? It's emotionally hollow, in my opinion, so it automatically goes under Guardians, but I don't know if it's like, I would say it's better than The Amazing Spider-Man. Strictly off of like not me being a Spider-Man fan, you know what I mean? So I think I'm going right here. I think I'm going good. I think I'm going right above Amazing Spider-Man and somewhere around the middle of the good tier of the MCU. But guys, that does conclude my tier list for the MCU multiversal movies. Obviously, you can derive my MCU ranking out of all of these movies. My favorite is Avengers Infinity War, and my least favorite is Thor Dark World. If you guys like these tier list videos, let me know other things you guys want me to tier list in the comments down below, because I love to make these videos. As always, let me know your ranking for all of these MCU movies in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.